Hi, welcome to another Library of Ruina guide video here on the channel. If you're watching this, it should be put up onto my just general gameplay channel on Game Wisdom. For more game dev and analytical pieces, be sure to subscribe to the main Game Wisdom channel. But after the first video, I realized that another major point of frustration and confusion about how Library of Ruina plays is, well, with combat. So for this video, we're actually going to show off some of the combat in the game and give you some basic tips of how all this makes sense. And I need to record this now because for those of you who don't know, I am very much knocking on the point of no return finale. So once that's done, that's it. I'm also going to kill two birds with one stone as I need to get one more combat page that I missed before I begin. So we're going to get a lot of things done. But before we show off some general combat, there are some important things that I missed out on the first part, directly related to combat, that I want to bring up here. And that is the difference between dice power and damage. Because the game definitely has this issue, I feel, of trying to use a lot of terminology and it all kind of gets mushed together. So one of the things that we talked about in the last video is the importance of dice power, because this is how you win clashes. And as you get further into the game, having high enough damage on these dice, or having high enough rolls, is very important. We mentioned the use of power, but the thing is that power is not the same as damage. So if we look at this character, and this guy is kind of considered like the Pierce Master of like all the high level combat pages. It says here Pierce dice power +2. So what that means is that when we look at these rolls for Pierce dice, 5 to 9, 5 to 8, 4 to 8, 3 to 7, Pierce dice power +2 automatically gives a +2 to whatever he rolls. So 4 to 8 becomes 6 to 10. However, when you look here, Pierce stagger damage +1, Pierce damage +1, those do not factor into the dice roll. They become a point if the dice wins, and it adds to whatever damage is put onto it. So, if let's say on this 4 to 8, with my dice, I have +3 Pierce, so that becomes 7 to 11. If I roll a 9, that 9 becomes a 10 in terms of the actual damage put out. Granted, this character only has normal or less resistance. If they endure it or they immune it, that also becomes a factor. But the point is, if you expect dice that, let's say, give additional damage on bleed or things like that, or right here, like inflict bleed damage, stagger, and so on, that is not going to help you win clashes. Something like Feather, however, certainly does. Gain +1 power on emotional level 3 or above. This is why strength and protection bonuses are very big, because strength just gives you another added point on top of whatever your current roll is. And there are a lot of cards, and maybe at some point, if I'm still crazy enough over this game, we'll do a kind of favorite cards, best cards kind of thing. But with that said, I'm going to load up a fight. This will just be a very basic one, and we're going to talk about how combat actually plays out. Alright, and we are back. So, this is an earlier stage encounter in Library of Ruina. I'm using kind of high level characters, so ideally I won't be dying in this recording. If I do, it's going to be very embarrassing for me. But let's go over everything that we're going to be seeing. I turned off quick mode so we can at least have some explanation. So starting at the top here, we have the emotional level of each team. Baddies on the left, our people on the right. As the team emotional level builds up, we're going to gain bonuses in the form of abnormality pages that we can then apply, and they will get more additional benefits. Now, each character also has an emotional level. And this goes up as they fight, gaining positive points if they win fights and clashes, negative points if they lose it. Now, here's the important thing you have to understand. Light generation, that again is kind of our action points, magic points, however you want to describe it. These right here, you will gain 1 per turn by normal. You will also refill whatever your gauge is every time a character levels up their emotional level. Now, this is very important because you're going to find that early on in a fight, you will gain back your light so fast you won't realize that you're getting it back through the emotional level unless you notice it. This means that when you get to emotional level 5 or 4, when it's very hard to level up, you need to be a lot more conscious over your light management. You never want to run out of light in Library of Ruina, because all it takes is one really bad round to just utterly wipe your party. Now, the speed dice. We're going to roll these right here. Speed dice determine order of play. The higher the number, the greater the priority that you're going to get. Now, there are certain cards and certain characters who will gain bonuses based on either having higher or lower speed. Now, this is important because if I can remember where this command is, there it is. This will allow you to clash and counter opponents. And for those of you who know what I just clicked on, this shows you targets and clashes over here. But I leave these off because it can be just a nightmare in terms of trying to piece together everything. And it's far easier for me to just mouse over. So the dotted lines mean that this attack is going to go through without anyone interacting with it or kind of superseding it. Now, she rolled the wrong thing that I wanted her to use, so I'm going to just use this very quickly. And that's just a special thing for this specific key page. There we go. So, if an attack goes unheeded, it will attack whatever combat page is set up on the respective dice. So, these two are attacking my strongest character, which is not good for them. And then these two are attacking these respective characters. Some characters will prioritize specific aspects. Now, if you look in the upper left here, you'll see what they are resistant to. Endure means they will take the least amount of damage. Fatal means they take the most. Weak is second most. And then normal is, well, normal. And as you get further in the game, most characters will not have any weaknesses. So good luck trying to exploit that. But considering the power of these characters and their cards, I'm not too worried about this. So we're going to queue up some fights. And remember, we have characters that the actual dice roll is going to be different because of their additional bonuses. So for her, she is just going to rip and tear. And you'll see that when the fight actually starts. Now, let's say that I don't want them to attack their targets. I want them to attack somebody else. What we're going to do is use a higher speed dice to counter. So now this character is forced to attack this one. And this is going to be forced to attack that. Now, what I'm going to do, and this is very important, is when you set up multiple dice to target a specific character, only one is going to be the first, and that is represented by whoever has the red line. Blue lines are secondary. Remember, a combat page can only counter one additional combat page. So by setting up multiples, it means that these attacks are going to go through, and the character will not be able to counter it. And that's what's called a one-sided attack. And again, I'm trying to make sure that the attacks that I want to go through are. So everything is set up. Now, another thing to keep in mind, again, that we talked about in the last one, is the differences between combat, defensive, and counter dice. Combat dice are this kind of like orange color. Defensive dice are blue. And then counter dice are yellow. The differences are as so for the defensive dice. A dice that has a shield on it is a blocking dice. It means that if it loses a clash, it will still defend or mitigate some of the damage. If it rolls higher, it just blocks the damage outright. I don't think we have any evasive dice on these characters, although I may be surprised depending on what my build is. I don't. Evasive, oh wait, here it is. Evasive dice right here means that as long as it rolls higher than the attack, it will preserve or will keep evading. If the opposing character has a dice that hits the number or goes higher, you're going to take full damage from that attack. So evasion dice are a little bit riskier to use, but they have a little bit more value. While counter dice, that's the yellow one, they will always stay on during the length of that combat page attack, and as long as it rolls higher, it will just keep on attacking or keep on defending for you. And it makes them very powerful when it comes to somebody who just keeps on attacking or using multiple attacks on a single page. But I think we got everything set up, so let's roll. Alright, so we have a 3d8. Now again, because of her bonuses, it is not going to be a 3d8. It's a 13. Then the next one is a 9. And the next one is 11. Now we staggered that. 5 to 7 becomes a 9. And the same thing, remember, this is a 7 to 13, but we have additional bonuses on Pierce. So it's going to roll very high. An 11. Now that's going to deflect. Boom. Boom. And the reason why those two less damage is because these characters resist slash-based damage. But we had really good roll. Now because they resist slash-based damage, I'm going to probably switch her over to blunt damage when time goes on. But again, these characters are really powerful. They're higher up, so I'm not too worried. This. Now, because they all are targeting her, I need to intercept this. So we're going to use Infinity. And this is just going to just do a lot of damage. Alright, we're going to do another intercept. Oh, but we don't have enough light for that. And again, always double check to make sure that every dotted line is being covered. There we go. And you see her little special here is that as her emotion level rises up, she's going to be basically able to go ultra powerful. And then just dominate in the second fight of this encounter. Alright, so I think everything looks good. We're going to roll again. Boom. Boom. They are almost staggered. When a character is staggered, they lose their turn. And for the next turn, all their resistances are reduced to fatal, which means they will take double damage from every dice. So this one is basically going to die. Boom, we get a lot of points for that. Again, I'm not expecting the slasher to get through here. We hit emotional level 2, or I guess that's maybe considered 1, which means I can select an abnormality page. And the abnormality pages are determined based on the amount of positive and negative coins, or emotional points that you get. So these are the cards we can choose from. And for this, Vampirism is our best. It's a single ally, so we're going to give it to our best character. So this one has been broken. So she is just basically going to get killed this next turn. So we're just going to let her do all the countering. I'm going to switch her over to Blunt. And that is just going to wreck this crew. I finally got that. Most likely, we will probably win this round in this fight, or this section. Boom. Boom. Also, while this footage is playing out, in terms of terminology, a scene is essentially one round of combat. An act is the entire battle, or this entire battle that you're seeing right here. So when somebody says that it will boost it for next scene, that's what they mean. So now we have a negative emotion card, and they're always designated by red. Negative cards usually give you some crazy rule, but they will often come with a downside to them. And we're not going to really need them here. Gebura's at emotional level 2, so she will probably hit her ultimate this next fight. And if you just want to let the game choose everything, you can click this or hit P, and you're done. Boom, dead. She's hit level 3, and that's Act 1. Now that was the one that was just the gimme. This is the one with the character with specific pages. I'm trying to get Boundary of Death, which is like the super RNG ultimate card that you can get. And again, you can check what their specials are. Later in the game, you're going to run into enemies that have Shimmering, which is basically reserved for boss fights, which basically turns all their cards into zero-cost ones, which is very, very bad. But again, Gebura is about to power up, so this is going to be fairly quickly. Let's see. So again, also, if a character has their speed dice broken right here, it means they cannot counter anything on this dice. That is very bad, as you can probably tell. And we're going to use it to most likely rip this character apart. Level slash. And you get more level slashes. Now, as you can see, because they have multiple speed dice, they can certainly target me a lot. Also, your emotional level persists across acts. So I'm going to trade this. And let's see, anyone attacking this guy? No. But we have, looks like, 2. And the game, it is a little hard sometimes to read if there's multiple attacks on me, because look at that line right there. Now, if I do use a combat page that has counter dice on it, it can also kind of sometimes block multiple characters. So I'm going to experiment and see if that will work here. And again, some of these rules can be quite confusing. I'm not too worried about setting a perfect place right now because, again, once she powers up, this whole encounter is over. So again, just doing a quick double check to make sure that nobody has a dotted line except for this one that's getting a double. So we should be good. Yeah, that ain't blocking. Boom. Boom. And again, she's getting boost, which is why she's always rolling higher. Bam. And again. And the reason why that card was able to block was because the defensive dice was not used on that first attack. So it basically stayed around. Boom. Go. Right, she's at level 3. Alright, not yet. Oh, it's at level 4 she has to hit. Which means we may not actually get to it in this fight just because of how powerful they are. Now I'm going to use one of my favorite cards of Gabura on Rush. Basically, every time she kills or staggers somebody, she gets to do it again. And I've wiped out entire parties because of it. And this character was probably the wrong one to take for this encounter, because of the fact that they resist slash, and this is just all slash base. Serpentine Barrier, a really great defensive card there. Again, we're going to do our best to just set up for multiple blocks. And most likely this fight is going to be over very soon. In fact, I don't think I even need to set anything up right now. Also, if a character dies and you've set up multiple cards on them, those cards will not be used and your light will be restored. So it's okay to kind of overstack on enemies if you want to make sure they are going to die. Go. And yeah, there's a good chance we may just win this act right now. Let's see. Boom. And now because on rush triggered, she goes again. Oh, by 1, she didn't stagger. When a defensive dice rolls higher than an attack, it will deflect and cause stagger damage. As you saw right there. So again, a 9 to 20 with pierce bonuses, it's going to roll definitely on the higher side. Although you can sometimes still get very low rolls. There's a 12. Now you saw right there that the evade dice rolled the same value. That's why it didn't get preserved. Boom. Oh, and this one is super dead. And she has officially hit level 4. Which means we can activate her ultimate next turn. Again, more of these. And because we hit the emotional level, and I realized this wing, and the wing realizations are the super hard fights, we've unlocked mass pages, and that is perfect timing to explain how these work. Especially with this character with like 2 points or 8 points of health and stagger. Like, they're going to die very, very quickly. Let me pull this up here. So, mass attacks are the final kind of cards that you're going to get in Library of Ruina. They are incredibly powerful, and they're also going to be nasty to avoid. So, there's 2 kinds, mass summation and mass individual. Mass summation means that when I play this card, it is going to target everybody. If there are multiple enemies still alive right now, there would be a blue line drawn to their dice as well, to one of each one of their dice. A mass sum means that it's going to basically roll against all the dice on the respective opponent's page. So if they have 2 dice that are 3 to 5, 3 to 5, it's going to take the combined rolls of those 2 and match up to whatever I roll here. Now, if I roll higher than their mass sum, their entire page is negated. Mass individual is a single attack, and we don't have one here to show. And what that means is that each dice on mass individual will roll against the respective dice on the other combat page. So if it's a mass individual of 3 dice, it will go through 3 times, and the opponent must have a dice to counter each one of them. This is very important when you get to boss fights that have mass individual plays, because you're going to find that having one really strong dice is not going to cut it. And sometimes it's better to block like 1 or 2 of the attacks, guarantee, than risk it for all 3. So this character right here is going to die. Let's see, do I have math? And just to end on a high note, we're going to activate her ultimate, and you're going to see that in play next turn. So I'm just going to roll again. Oh, and the power has been turned on. So at this point, she gets access to her special, and that's Great Split Horizontal. And again, this is a mass sum, so you're going to see those 3 dice versus her 1 super dice. And unless some strange miracle happens, she is not going to roll higher than a 28 to 42. So this character, say goodnight. You cannot decide, or you cannot tell the game which additional dice to target. So when I put this on this, if there were other characters on this field, it will choose, again, which of their dice to target randomly. So this character is dead. Also, in terms of order of operation, it will go melee, or I'm sorry, it will go mass, range, and melee. And for the heck of it, I may load up a fight after this one just to show off what a range attack does. But let's say goodnight to this character. And just to really overkill it, we're going to use 2 mass sum attacks. So she rolled a 40, they rolled a 24, this one is dead. She rolled a 23, but nobody is alive to get hit by it. Boom. Call, you're done. And we get our books as our rewards. Now, hopefully, I can get the page that I want. Where is it? Oh, I think it's over here. That's not it. Alright. It's a 1. I only get 1 of these. I just won 1 of those. Can I get it? Let's see. Ta-da! Yay, I got it. So, what this basically tells you, or how this works, and why people like to use it as the meme card, if this dice rolls a natural 4, what that means is that even if I have power that boosts the roll of the dice, it has to roll a 4. And if it does, this goes from a 1 to 4 to a 46 to 49. That is the most insane card, or most insane damage you will get on your cards outside of the mass sum and mass individuals. But of course, it's you have a 1 in 4 chance of getting it each time. So, I think what I will do is I'm going to load up another encounter really fast, and I'm going to show you what a range kind of thing, or range cards will do. Alright, so this will be a very quick one. We're not probably going to do the whole fight unless we go by super fast. But range cards are introduced, I believe it was in Chapter 3 of the game. I think that was Urban Nightmare, I believe. And they are always designated by the little, looks like a shotgun, on these cards. So how this works, range cards always have priority over melee. If you hit an enemy with a range card and it beats its attack, it basically destroys their dice. Now the downside is that if a range card loses, that dice gets reshuffled to the back. So what that means is, let's say on this character that I attack and both the 4 to 7 and 3 to 7 on my side are stopped. One by the evasion and then one by that 4 to 8 pierce. That 4 to 8 pierce will then go behind the 4 to 7, basically recycling the dice and allowing them to attack me in full. The kind of how this game kind of balances this out is that ranged dice are fewer, but they're far more punchier. So they allow you to kind of counter like a very high dice, as opposed to fighting like 3 dice right here. And to show that off, I'm going to try and hit this one. And you're going to see what happens. And like I said, I'm not really playing this one, fully seriously. I'm just doing this as to show this off. Also, notice on this counter, nobody has any weaknesses. Because that's where we're at in terms of progress here. Now this character also has guns. And I'm going to activate. And again, in order to counter an opponent's speed dice, you must have it higher. So 5 versus 5 is not going to do it. Let's see, who are you targeting right now? This is better. Again, it's better to have these line up as opposed to getting one-sided. I'm going to place you right here. And again, you can see they're really going all in on that one. But that's okay. We can stop it here. And then you're just going to go to town. Also, another thing this game doesn't do from a UI perspective that is annoying, it doesn't show you how much light you're actually recovering and why. So again, for this one, this is going to get a little complicated. I'm going to use 3 light to attack with this character. This card restores 1 light on use. But I'm also going to use Unlock, which, once this is fully powered, will also restore light. It's not going to do it on this one. So I'm going to get essentially 2 light back when this round is over. But if this does give this character an emotional level increase, I'm going to get full light regardless. So everything looks good. So let's watch. Again, the range attack will always go first. Boom. But because it's only 1 dice, he gets, or they get their additional attack. Boom. Now because it isn't at the higher speed, it's just a one-sided attack. And these characters get powerful rolls. So I'm going to probably be losing a few of these lower ones. Boom. There we go. Get some more max damage. Get that unlock. Alright, so nobody leveled up there. But because I broke this character's speed dice, they literally can't do anything this turn. Bad for them, right? So who can I counter here? There we go. And Binya is incredibly powerful. And like her floor is like a bunch of weird rules because of it. Let's do this. And Unlock is just really powerful for sustain. Alright. So now this is at Unlock 2. 1 more and that's going to be fully upgraded. Discard 2 pages. I need to hit a few more times with melee in order to get more ammo built up for him. And again, just double checking. Boom. Just blocks that. And they're completely stubbed, or snubbed. Boom, boom. Rolled higher. Hit. Yeah, that's not stopping that for sure. Hit again. They're building up fire stacks. And we get her abnormality pages. And some of the wings get super combinations that if you combine all specific abnormality pages, you basically pull an Exodia for the Yu-Gi-Oh fans watching. So I'm going to use this mass sum attack, and this is a mass individual. And this is actually a perfect way to show this off. So, as you can see, it's targeting every one of their dice. If one of the dice, or one of their dice, counters it, it will still be in play. If she gets through all three, their entire turn is over. Unlock 2 is ready. Unlock 3, incredibly powerful card. And you can see this guy is not doing so well. We need to get him some more dice for sure. And again, this is why light recovery is very important. So let's watch. So 3, that's not going to stop it. 4, no. 6, yes. He is shooting, but the attack went through. Boom, boom. Oh yeah, we use a very powerful dice for that one. So this one has been... Is this one staggered? Yes, they have. Alright, so we'll let her finish him off. She almost has her ultimate ready. That one is not there yet. Right now I'm just trying to take the heat off of her. Now that one did level up, as you saw right there. That's why he got all his dice back. And let's see. Use this. And we're almost done. I may actually speed up some of this. Boom. They're staggered. And you hear me click because I has to go through when I have quick mode turned off. You're dead. You won't be able to show off too many of the craziness. Again, because of the dice that I'm using or the cards. And you can see we have ammunition, so I'm going to use Focus Fire that draws power from the ammunition. You may actually be able to kill them both on this turn. And then good old Binya to wrap things up. Alright. Oh, she rolled too low. That's why you heard that noise. And they're just shooting. And goodbye. So that will cover, I think, everything in terms of combat fundamentals. Again, you want to make sure that characters are not being one-sided. Keep track of how much your power is being augmented. And again, there's just a lot that goes into this game. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And let me know if you want to know or see another, I guess, how-to video for Library of Ruina. Do all the liking and subscribing. If you're interested in more of my thoughts on design, be sure to subscribe to the main Game Wisdom channel. And come back for daily discussions on game design here and on Game Wisdom, where some of the art and science of games. Until next time, take care.